I never told my high school crush I used to wait outside her house just to see her leave for school because I thought love meant staying invisible until someone noticed. But she never did, and years later when she said, "I wish someone had really seen me back then," I almost said, "I did." But I just smiled and let the moment pass like everyone before it. This is something I've never told anyone. Not because it's some deep, awful secret, but because saying it out loud would make it real. And maybe a little pathetic. Back in high school, I used to wait outside this girl's house every morning. Not in her driveway or anything weird, just across the street by the corner mailbox. I'd pretend I was adjusting my shoelaces or checking my phone or tying my hoodie tighter. I was 15, and I thought that's what love was. Watching. Hoping. Staying invisible long enough for someone to finally notice you. Her name was Claire. I didn't even know it at first. I just knew she lived on Rosemont Avenue, in this red brick house with green shutters and a big pine tree out front that dropped needles like rain. Her older brother had this beat-up silver Civic that shook every time it backed out of the driveway. It was loud. That's how I started noticing her. The first time I saw her, it was raining. Not hard, just enough to make your backpack damp. She came out the front door with a textbook held over her head. Her hair was wet. She looked pissed off and beautiful and very alive in a way I didn't know how to be yet. I remember thinking, this is what people write songs about. After that, I started walking that way to school even though it added 12 minutes. I never missed a day. I'd leave early, take the long way, and time it so I'd be passing her house right as she came out. Sometimes she'd be alone. Other times she'd argue with her brother. One morning she tripped on the steps and dropped her bag and started laughing like she was embarrassed but used to it. She never noticed me. Not really. Once or twice she glanced over, probably because of the noise the Civic made, but her eyes went right through me. We had 2 classes together, English and later chemistry, but I doubt she ever made the connection. I was the kid who sat at the back, always wore black hoodies, and never talked unless I was forced to. I didn't have friends, not close ones. I ate lunch behind the gym sometimes. Read books I didn't even like just to look busy. Meanwhile, Claire was the kind of girl who could talk to anyone. She had this big, nervous laugh that made other people relax. People thought she had her life together. Always dressed sharp, never late, answered questions in class without sounding like a show-off. But I'd watch her sometimes and there was something behind her eyes. Not sadness exactly. More like exhaustion. There was one time in 10th grade where she cried in the hallway, just outside the nurse's office. I was on a bathroom pass and turned the corner and there she was, sitting on the floor with her knees up, hugging her bag. Her eyes were red. Her phone was in her hand. She looked up when she heard me and wiped her face real fast. I didn't say anything, just kept walking. I replayed that moment in my head 100 times. Wondered what it would have meant if I had just stopped. Just said, "Are you okay?" But I didn't. I didn't know how. I wasn't good at talking. I wasn't good at being seen. So I stayed in the background. Every day. Watching. Memorizing her routines. She always wore her left sleeve half pulled down over her hand when she was anxious. She always tapped her pen exactly 3 times before answering a question in chemistry. She always paused at her front door in the morning like she was preparing for battle. Looking back, I know it sounds weird. Obsessive. But it wasn't like that to me. It wasn't about doing anything. I never planned to talk to her or ask her out or even really be known. It just felt good to see her. To feel like I knew something no one else did. All the little ways she moved through the world. Like if someone had to keep track of her, I was doing the job. When she graduated, she moved away for college. I heard it through some mutuals. She went to Colorado, I think. Something with writing or art. I stayed local. Did a 2-year community college thing, then took a job at a warehouse. Paid okay. Kept me busy. I stopped walking past her street after a while. It made me feel stupid to keep doing it after she was gone. Like holding onto a movie that ended years ago. Then last year, I saw her again. It was at Sarah Lockwood's wedding. I almost didn't go. I hadn't seen anyone from high school in forever. But my friend Paul convinced me. Said it'd be good to show up, drink free beer, remember who we used to be. I didn't even know Claire would be there. I saw her from across the room. Took me a second to recognize her. Her hair was shorter, shoulder length, and a little wavy. She wore this dark blue dress with sleeves that fell off the shoulder. She looked the same, just older. Softer around the eyes. Like she finally got sleep. She walked up to me at the bar and said, "I know you, right? We had chem together." I nodded. "Yeah. An English junior year." She laughed, a little embarrassed. "God, I'm sorry. I don't remember you at all." "That's awful." I smiled. "Nah." I was quiet. She looked at me a second longer than I expected, then nodded. "Yeah, I guess I was too." That hit harder than I thought it would. We talked for a while, about old teachers, where people ended up. She told me she's freelancing now. Some writing, some photography. Said she moved back to town temporarily to help her mom through a health thing. "It's weird being back," she said. "Feels like nothing's changed, but everything's different." Then she said something I'll never forget. She said, "You know, I always looked like I had it all together, but back then, I felt completely invisible, like I could disappear and no one would even notice. I wish someone had really seen me." My chest felt like it cracked open, because I did. I saw everything. I wanted to tell her. I wanted to say, "I used to watch you leave your house every day. I memorized your schedule. I noticed when your sleeve was pulled down, and when your laugh was real and when it was fake. I noticed when your eyes looked tired and when they looked like they still believed in something. I saw all of it, but I didn't say any of that. I just smiled, lifted my drink, and said, 'Yeah, I get that.'" She smiled back, and that was it. About a month after the wedding, Claire messaged me on Instagram. I don't even remember following her. Maybe I did during high school, or maybe she found me. All I know is, one evening I opened the app and there it was. "Hey, it was really nice talking at the wedding. You free to grab coffee sometime?" I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me felt excited. The other part felt like a fraud. Like she didn't really know who she was inviting out. But I said yes. We met at this small coffee shop downtown, a place I'd been going to for years. She wore a sweater that looked too big for her and had her hair tied up in a loose knot. She smiled when she saw me like we'd always been friends. We talked for hours. It was easy. Easier than I expected. She told me more about her mom. Early-stage Parkinson's diagnosis was recent. Said she was handling it okay, but some days were harder than others. She wasn't sure how long she'd stay in town. Could be months. Could be longer. After that, we started meeting up regularly. Coffee, sometimes lunch, sometimes just walking around town talking about nothing. It was surreal. All those years of watching her from far away, and now we were face to face, talking about real things. But here's the thing, she still didn't know me. Not really. She knew me now in this casual coffee friend way. But she had no idea I used to study her face from across a classroom. That I used to walk past her house every single day just to feel like I existed next to her. That I memorized her laugh, her habits, her silence. She had no idea I carried this long, quiet history of her inside me. And the more time we spent together, the worse it got. She started opening up. Told me about how fake she felt in high school. How nobody really knew her. How even her closest friends didn't ask the right questions. One day she said, "Sometimes I feel like I was just background noise in my own life." That sentence nearly knocked the wind out of me. Because it was exactly how I felt too. Back then. Still now. But I stayed quiet. I just listened. Nodded. Smiled. Then one night we ended up sitting in her car. It was cold out. We'd gone to a diner and talked too long, and it was late and her windows fogged up from our breath. There was this long silence. Not awkward. Just heavy. She looked at me and said, "You ever feel like you missed your shot? Like, there was this one person you should have said something to, but you didn't, and now they'll never know." I wanted to scream. Instead I said, "Yeah, I think about that sometimes." She looked out the window and said, real soft, "Me too." That's when the twist hit me. She wasn't talking about me. She was talking about someone else. Some guy from her past. A real person. Someone she had maybe almost said something to. Maybe someone who did see her, or almost did, or said something she now looks back on. Meanwhile, I was right there. Next to her. Again. Quiet. Invisible. Like always. And I felt this strange thing build up in me, not anger exactly. Not jealousy. Something worse. Like a slow kind of heartbreak you can't even react to because you've seen it coming for years. A week after that night in the car, she stopped replying to my texts. At first, I thought she was just busy. Her mom was going through a rough patch and Claire had said things were getting harder at home. But then 2 days turned into 4, then a week, and still nothing. I left a couple of casual messages. Hey, just checking in. Hope everything's okay. Let me know if you want to grab coffee sometime. No pressure. No reply. I didn't want to be that guy, the one who pushes when someone pulls away. But it was hard not to think about everything we talked about. How close we'd gotten. How much it felt like we were actually building something. Or at least, I thought we were. One night, I was scrolling through Instagram and saw her story. A photo from a bar. Dim lighting. 2 drinks. A guy's arm across the table. Not mine. She tagged him, just a first name. No caption. No context. But I knew. I clicked on his profile. It was public. His name was Eli. He looked like the kind of guy you don't forget in high school. One of those smooth, loud, big personality types who always had a crowd around him. The type Claire probably meant when she said she missed her shot. I didn't recognize him from our school. But that didn't matter. He wasn't a stranger to her. That much was obvious. A few days later, I saw them together. I was at the pharmacy picking up cold medicine. She walked in with him, laughing, holding a basket, moving in sync like they'd done it 100 times. She didn't see me. And I didn't say anything. I stood in the corner by the vitamins and watched them move down the aisles. Talking, joking, smiling. Like everything I thought was growing between us had never happened. It hit me then, how invisible I really was. Not just in high school. Not just back then. Still now. Always. I left without buying anything. Got in my car. Sat there for a while staring at the steering wheel like it might give me an answer. 2 days later, she texted me. First time in almost 2 weeks. Hey, sorry I've been quiet. Things have been kind of overwhelming lately. Hope you're doing okay. That was it. I didn't know how to respond. I didn't want to say what I was really feeling, that she made me feel like a ghost all over again. That it hurt more than I expected to be dropped and picked back up like nothing happened. That I had loved her for years in silence and was starting to think maybe that's all I'd ever be, the quiet option. The safe one. The background character. But I didn't say any of that. I typed all good. Let me know if you ever want to hang out. She replied, yeah, I'd like that. We never set a date. Sometimes I still see her around town. At the grocery store. Walking her dog. Sitting outside that coffee shop we used to go to, laughing with someone who isn't me. And every time I smile, I wave. I act like nothing ever lived under the surface. She always smiles back, warm, friendly, polite. Like we were never anything more than 2 people who happened to run into each other once or twice. And maybe that's all we ever were. But every now and then I still think about that moment at the wedding. When she said, I wish someone had really seen me back then. And I wonder what would have happened if I'd just told the truth. If I'd said I did. I saw everything. But I didn't. And now I'm just part of the crowd she never noticed. Again. And maybe that's where I was always supposed to be.